Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Marketo-Fu. I believe we're on 23 now. What I wanted to talk about today was just basically lead grading. So we talked about scoring way back, I think, in the beginner track. And, once you have a very workable, tokenized scoring process in play, maybe you've adjusted it, tested it for a few months, had it up and running. The next good step, or you can even do this right out of the box, is just adding a lot of change all at once to any organization. The next step is to really let your sales reps be able to prioritize their leads in a custom way. So, if you're taking demographic score and behavioral score, what lead grading will let you do is basically map out the combined score for those values and give your reps an idea of like where on the list of priorities does this lead fall. Like, is there just a lot of activity but they don't have a lot of buying, purchasing, decision making power, or is it the perfect ideal top tier decision maker plus they've done a ton of stuff and interact with us in a lot of ways. I might prioritize that lead differently than I would say someone at like the procurement level, for example, would be a very easy one of like, that's probably, depending on your industry, probably not the highest, most person worth your time to follow up on. Might be worth investigating who they're connected with that you should follow up with and try to influence. But yeah. So what I'm going to show you right now is I'm going to take you through just a very high level overview of like how we at Fathom build out a scoring model and a grading model alongside it. And then, manage a little bit of that change management and then show you what it looks like in an instance. So with no further ado, screen share. Alrighty. Okay, so what I have here is basic implementation workbook we like to work out of, where we line out like the basic scoring activities, what they're worth, what the threshold is, all that. So once you have something like this, it's really easy to have a conversation around what does the grading model actually look like? And that's what we have over here. I will zoom in a little bit. So you see we have it mapped out on two axes. A, B, C, D is for demographic. 1, 2, 3, 4 is for behavioral. And what you'll notice is we're sending an alert anytime someone has, and I've mapped the scoring. So anytime anyone's behavioral score is over 100 to start, we're sending an alert. The reason I have it set up like this is just because for a new instance starting out, I want to get the reps used to receiving and acting upon alerts first. I think that's a very important step in this process. So while grading models are really cool and can add a whole ton of insight, usually the whole process of training and retraining a sales organization to interact better with a marketing automation tool like Marketo is going to take a little bit of time and process. It takes baby steps sometimes. So one thing I like to recommend just as a consultant is, to start anything that's over the behavioral threshold, go ahead and send an alert. If you want to provide the training though on what the grading model means, that's fantastic. And you can see similarly how I've organized demographic score. There's a similar scoring tier corresponding over here. So if they're over 100 in both, they're A1. If they're between 75 and 99, they could be a B1, B2, B3. So in a more mature model, what you might see is instead of all just at the behavioral threshold, you might say, they could still get it at B, but they might not get it at C, and that kind of thing. But basically, how you build out your model, like we have over here, is based on whatever demographic identifiers we have, we're going to say what their score is, and then be able to make them fall into one of these categories somewhere. And then we can combine both these values by daisy chaining our fields together and giving on the alert a quick preview of like, hey, are they an A1, a B2, a C3, whatever. Yeah, so over on the Marketo side, oh no, where's my Marketo? There we go. Yeah, so over on the Marketo side, you'll build out a few smart campaigns that look like this. where you're just listening for scores changed. Add a constraint for the new score is whatever the threshold is. So in this case, we're talking about the top tier, so anything over 100. And then we're going to change. I made a custom field called behavioral grade, and then we're going to change the value to 1. Similarly for demographic, same idea. You're going to go down through the series and do, if new score for demographic score is at least whatever the threshold is, then you're going to change the value to A for a demographic grade, another custom field. So, and as you go down through these, what you'll see is, come on, Marketo. What you'll see as you go down through these is I have, ranges after that, just corresponding to the tier that I just showed you guys. And again, behavior score and demographic score, we like to use as outside the box. We like to use those fields rather than what Marketo. When depending on your instance, Marketo might have stamped two scoring fields, like a general lead score and then a behavior score field on all your basic scoring programs, if they stamped any in your instance at all. And I think the reason they do that is something to do with MSI, and they're deprecating one of those values. And yeah, so it was kind of like a long-term safety net. But we like to use demographic and behavior score in particular because you can do cool stuff like this. So again, nothing really different here, 75 and 99. You could even do if you wanted to make sure that this didn't happen via decay, which for this one, not so much. Maybe for the top 100, you could say the change is not, whatever your negative value is. But that's just an aside. And then again, what you see is that the behavioral grade is going to change to 2, and all these are just corresponding to the tier level that we were just looking at on that model. And then uniting all those smart campaigns, there's a master grading campaign that's listening for if the data value changes for behavioral grade or the data value changes for demographic grade. What it's going to do is then say change the scoring grade to lead demographic grade, the token for lead demographic grade, and the token for lead behavioral grade. What this is going to do essentially is, oh shoot, did I save that in the system? So we need to make a person. Let's do this real quick. So we're going to go new person, test at Fathom delivers test. Yeah, this is a completely fresh instance we're looking at. It's so clean. So we're going to look at people. There's the one person. So what we're going to do here is this. We're going to say we're going to change a data value. Oh, and this is just a cool general tip. You can just do stuff like this all the time if you ever need it. So we're going to say behavioral score. We're going to say is 100. And then we're going to do the same thing for, I guess I could have just done that. Check. Okay, so what we're going to see now is if I were to go back over here, I'll show you on the lead record. So it's going to take a little bit for it to refresh, methinks. Once again, operating at the speed of lots of smart campaigns having to listen and do their thing. So it's generally not a problem. Like, I don't want to give you the image that this is going to take a long time. Okay, so here we see it went from null to A1 because both things were at 100 and on the top of our tier. So if I refresh this now, boom. So you see A1. And then how that would get picked up in an alert is how I like to set up our alerts is, I don't know if this one is actually complete. But basically, there's going to be a little spot, little token that's going to grab another custom field, just that scoring grade field, and it's going to drop it right over here. So it's easy to see if you're the rep receiving the alert. So, but yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to discuss there. It's really cool. Grading models are really an easy way to. Where is my screen? Stop. Okay. Yeah. So all that to say, grading models are really not that complicated to set up. They do work really quickly. The value is really just you give your reps the ability to prioritize their leads in a way that makes sense. Like, they don't want to work non-decision makers, even if they do have a high behavioral score. And generally what we like to provide at Fathom is like more training and regular training. Anything that has to do with sales and marketing alignment takes regular touches. I'll say that a million times. But we generally like to do a lot of a little bit of education just around, like, this is what the grading tiers mean. This is like, you probably need to prioritize an A1 differently than you do a B1. But both of those are probably valid leads. But whereas like a C1 or a D1, maybe you'd give them a call, but they're not going to be the first person you reach out to on a Monday morning kind of thing. But yeah, so basically, any questions on lead grading, hit them in the comments, or start a conversation over in the Marketo Nation. And yeah, it's been a cool episode. Thanks, guys.